welcome to our latest session of the Abingdon Museum Crafting Crew, which is called Weave Away. And this session is all about creating simple pieces of craft and artwork using various weaving techniques. And we've taken inspiration from an artist called Kay Fassett, an American-born artist who's in the UK, someone that I've never heard of before, but Joe, Judy and Margaret are a big fan. And as you can see from the front cover here, he uses lots of different colour and techniques and enjoys combining those to create his artwork. He uses wool, he uses patchwork, needlework, mosaics, a whole variety of different materials to create his pieces. And so we've taken some inspiration from him, and I hope you'll agree the pieces that we're going to show you are really nice and colourful. So the first thing that I'm going to show you how to make are these lovely simple weaving crosses, or sometimes called Indian eye. You see these in countries like Mexico, and they're really simple to make and really effective. And as you can see with these two, you can really combine different colours and experiment to see what kind of effect they have. And you can add beads or stickers or various things onto them. These ones are lovely shades of purples and greens, or reds and yellows and purple on this one here. So I'm going to show you how you can make these. So I'm going to show you now how to make these Indian eyes, and these are the ones that we made earlier, just to remind you. So you need 2 sticks. So I'm going to show you this one with the 2 dowels, but you could use 2 sticks from the garden, or you could use barbecue skewers or lolly sticks, anything like that, just as long as you've got 2 sticks. You can make it more complicated and use 4 if you want to, but I'm just going to show you with 2. So you take your 2 sticks, and then you need something to weave onto it. So I'm going to use wool, but you could use ribbon or string, anything like that you've got. You could, if you've got old scraps of material, you could cut those up into thin strips and use those in weaving as well. So I'm going to start with the green. And just so that it's manageable, I take an arm's width of wool and cut it off there. And you can always make it shorter or longer if you want to. And then the first thing to do is, you might need an adult or another pair of hands with this bit, it can be a bit fiddly, is you need to tie a knot to tie the 2 sticks together. Just a simple knot like this. Okay, and once you've got your knot tied, just make sure that the sticks are in a nice cross shape. Don't worry about any bits that are dangling out, because, or any knots, because you can decide once you've finished your Indian eye which is going to be the front or back, and then poke any bits that are looking untidy through to the other side. So don't worry about that. Okay, so you take your sticks, and then what you're going to do is going to go around the sticks and then move the sticks round to the next one. And I'm just going to hold the knot in the middle just to get started, because this tends to be the most fiddly bit. So you're going to go round a stick like that, and then across the back to the next one, and then turn. And then you're going to go round the stick. Hope you can see that. I'll just hold it with my thumb in the middle. Around the back, and then turn. So over the stick. So you're ending up looking like that, and on the back it begins to look like that kind of shape. So you can decide now whether you prefer this side or this side to be the front or back, and then make sure any knots appear at that side. So that's how you get started. This one, as I say, is one that I started before, and I've got a bit further on, and I'm going to show you how you can add any beads on, like I've done here, and change colour. So again, round the stick, across the back, and turn. round the stick across the back and turn. Around the stick. Now it's getting too short now. I'm going to need to change colour. So I've got some white wool ready here. Try not to tangle it up. So all you do is put the two ends together, wrap them around your finger, and then poke the ends through and pull to knot them together, and then cut off up to maybe about 1/2 centimetre there. So again, although you don't want that too messy, you don't want it too short or the knot will come undone. So now I can carry on wrapping round and turning, wrapping round and turning. Now the knot here, my messy bit, as you can see, is on the back where the other knots were. So you just have to make sure that when you do your weaving that the knot is going to be at the back, and I think it is. If I stop there, then that's going to be at the back, so that will be fine. If not, all I would do is do another wrap round just to make sure that it finishes in the right place. So I'm wrapping around, turning, wrapping around, turning. Now all I did to put the beads on, if you've got really thin sticks, so if you were using, for example, these barbecue skewers, you could simply at one point slide the beads on, or you could add them at the end like on this one. Now as you can see, my dowel's much too thick, so what I did with that was at one point, let's get the end of your wool, thread the bead on like that, and then you can just arrange where it goes once you've finished with your white, and then keep weaving round. And I'm going to add another purple one on the other side to match. There you go, and then keep going around. Now I know this is opposite to you, but when I'm doing it, I imagine that this, for me, this is 12 o'clock and this is 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock on a clock. So I guess for you it would be 12, 3, 6 and 9. But sometimes that helps when you're doing your weaving to think maybe you always want this one at the top or at the bottom. It helps me when I'm doing it anyway. So go round and at the back. Just keep going like that. And as you can see, now that you've got this far up the sticks, they're quite firm and it's much easier to handle. So if you were doing this with younger children, as I said before, you could get them started until the sticks are nice and firm, and then they can take over. And there we go, we come to the white. So if I wanted to change colour again, I would be going on my pattern, I'd be going back to the dark green. So again, I would just tie a bit on and then keep going. And then once you've got to the very end, all you then have to do is just tie this around, just loop it. A couple of loops like that. And then tie that off at the back. There you go. And there you'd have your finished Indian eye. And then they look really lovely hung up in the window or out in the garden. They look really colourful and effective. So yeah, have a go at making one of those. So when you're weaving, you would have a frame or a loom. This one is a triangular shape, which I'm going to show you how to make in a moment, but it could be square or rectangular. And the bits going down, which are tight, those are called the warp, and then you weave in and out of those, and that's the weft. This one is a really nice simple loom. which is easier for younger children to manage, where you're just using elastic bands to tie them together, wrapping some wool around, and then you can use this to take on maybe a walk that you're going and collect natural materials and weave them in and out. These are just taken from my garden. So I'll show you how you can make one of those. So next I'm going to show you how to make this simple triangular loom or frame. And I've just woven in some natural objects that I've got in my garden here, which look really pretty and effective. What you could do with younger children is make the frame at home first, and then when you go out on a walk, collect some things as a memory of the walk that they've been on, which is quite a nice thing to do. So for this one, you need 3 sticks from your garden or when you've been out on a walk, elastic bands and some wool. So you take your elastic band, and if you've got young children, they might need a little bit of help with the first bit. So you take an elastic band and you start winding it round. So if you take the band, you twist it and then take the band over and then twist it again the other side and take it back again, twist it and then over, and maybe one more time just to make sure it's nice and secure. And then you can just twist it like that to create the triangle, and then you just do that at the other 2 corners. You can do the same thing with wool or string, but it's just, with younger ones, just a lot easier with an elastic band. It's much quicker if you've got them. If you haven't got them, then you can just use string. It's a bit more fiddly. There we go, that's the other corner. And the last one over here. And as you can imagine, you could just collect 4 sticks to create a rectangle or a square frame. I'm just showing you a triangle one just for a change. Or you could imagine that it's like a tree shape. And then I've got some chunky wool. So all you do with that is tie it at one of the corners, maybe the top corner. So you just take the wool and tie it over like that, just to create a simple knot, and then back again. And you can always cut these ends off. And then to do the weaving, what you want to do is a little bit like with the Indian eye. You're going to wrap the wool around one of the sticks and then across to the other one, and then around and across. And these sticks have got bark and a few knobbly bits on. That's actually really good because it stops your wool sliding along. So if I show you what I mean, you go around one stick, around the back, and around the other stick, and then around this one. That's it. The other one. And what we're creating here is the warp, and then that's probably done. I'm just going to do one more around the base just so it's secure. Got a lovely knot there. There we go. And then tie that off. So you just loop that through there. Maybe do a couple. Loop that through there. There we go. And then cut that off with your scissors. Okay, so there's your loom created. And then I'll just show you with a few things that I collected in the garden. And what you can do is weave those in and out between your bits of wool. There we go. And just put it up. And I'm going to leave those ends free and then trim them maybe at the end if I want to. And then finally, you can keep going adding more and more with these, but I just found some daisies that are growing wild in my lawn at the moment. I just thought they looked nice to add in as well. And you can just poke those through. There you go. And then if you wanted to, you can just trim the ends off. I'm just going to trim, I'm going to leave the grass heads but trim the ends. There you go. And it creates a lovely effect that then you can put maybe in the window or in the garden and keep adding more. And the more that you add, the tighter the wool will get, so those should stay in place. And then eventually, if these become dry or die off, you could always take them out and then use the frame to weave some more objects in. So here are some more frames or some more weaving looms. This one's a square one, and as you can see, we've got the warp going around here, which is the blue wool. So that's attached on at the back here. It's been covered to make the backing look nicer if you were going to give it to somebody as a gift. If you just stick card on the back, it just neatens it up there. And then the weft is bits of wool, paper and ribbon woven in and out to create that lovely scene. And we thought it looked quite like the sea with those blues, so you could, if you wanted to, add some features on. So I've got here some sea creatures, not stuck on, just laid on, but you could stick them on if you want to, and some seaweed. And you can see quite quickly you can create a lovely scene, and if you stuck those on, you could hang that on your wall for a really nice picture. And the ones that I'm going to show you now are these circle weaving frames. So a very similar idea, except instead of a square or rectangular, they're circular. And you can use wool, but again you could use ribbon or paper. Even if you scrunch the paper around, you could try and weave that in, or string, and then decorate it with beads or buttons or stickers. And that's just with some simple card. And that's another one with some different colours there. So I'm going to show you how to do some of that circle weaving next. Okay, now I'm going to show you some circle weaving. So these are two that I had to go of. They look quite similar, but they're a different technique. So you can see this one's got a much tighter weave than this one, and I'll explain how that works as we're making it. So to start off with, you're going to need some thick card, which you can just get from recycling, a ruler, something round to draw around to create your circle, some tape, some scissors, a pen, and some glue. So first of all, take your circle, whatever you found, and draw around that as your template. So there's your circle frame. Okay, now then the next thing you need to do is draw some lines across it. So if you've got a compass, fine, but otherwise just guess where you think the middle of the circle is, and then you're going to draw a line down the middle like that to cut it in half, and then again going sideways so you've got it into quarters. Then with your scissors you cut a roughly about 1 centimetre or just over 1 centimetre down those lines, and that's going to be where your wool is going to go down to create the warp. And once you've done that, you decide on what colour, if you've got different colours of wool, what colour you want to start off with. And again, use your arms, probably about an arm's span will be enough, and tape that onto the back there, just to hold that down. And then you're going to weave that across the other side of the circle, and then around the back, so across the back there and up to the next one, and then across the middle, round the back, onto the next one, across the middle, around the back, and then across the middle one last time. So it looks like that, like the spokes of a wheel on a bike. And then you can snip that off and then take that down. There we go. So there's your circle weaving frame, you might say. And then you're going to start off with the colour in the middle. So I've got this nice grey here. So all you do to start off is tie that just to some of the strands in the middle. And then, like lots of things I've been saying, probably about an arm span is long enough. If you cut it too short, you might find that you want to do more, but that doesn't matter. It's more if you get too long, you can get in a real tangle and a knot. So here's your circle weave. So what you want to do once it's tied on, don't worry about this now because we can tuck that behind. When you're weaving, which we looked at a little bit with the triangle frame, the idea is that you're going over one warp and under the next, over and under, over and under. So to start off, I'm just going to take one of these, doesn't matter which, so I'm going to go under that one and then over the next one, and then under that one. You just have to pull it up a little bit, and that's going to be your first start of weaving. And a little bit like the other one, the first bit is always the trickiest bit. So you want to pull that round so you can see there it's gone over, under, okay, and then you can turn it around a little bit. Find the end of your roll. So that was under, so the next one's over. So then I'm going to go under. So if it was under, the next one's over. So I would go over that one and then under this one, and then over that one and under the next one. Okay. Pull that round. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, so you can see, is just cut that off a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so I've gone under there, so the next one's going to be over, and then under that one, over this one, under that one. Go. Now you'll begin to notice that unlike the weaving, I'll just go and get and show you. If you were doing weaving on the square one, like on here, you can see on this line it's gone under and then over, under and then over, and then the next one it's alternated, it's different. So where it's gone under here, it's gone over on that one. So that's where you get that lovely pattern where it changes from one line under, over, the next one to over and then under, which is where the lovely patterns begin. Now on the circle one, the reason that's not happened is because you would need to have an odd number of warps so that each time you go round it's going to change. But to draw an odd number is really tricky. It's much easier to draw an even number where you're just cutting the circle each time. So what I found was you can get over that. You can just leave it like this if you like, because that looks really nice. But if you want it to change that pattern, then what you can do is when you change colour, decide that you're going to change from over under to under over. And I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to just tie those together. So it was under here, so the next one will be over that one, under that one. Yeah, so it's under, over. So under, over, under, over, under. Just going to pull that through. Okay, so now we've changed colour. So what I'm going to decide to do is now I've changed that colour, I'm going to swap whether I'm going under or over. So on this one, where the grey was, it was under. Normally I would go under as well, but instead I'm going to swap that, and I'm going to go over on this one and under on the next one. Okay, so you can see how that's changing, so I'm going to carry on with that now. Okay, so I'm going to keep going to, I'm going to change colour in a minute, so that's under, over, under, over, under. And when you're pulling, if you pull it now too tight, you'll find you'll go underneath the wool from before. So just make sure, just with your fingers, you make sure it's flattened out, so it's not too tight and pulling in too much, so that it's you can still see each of the threads. So over that one, under that one. This is getting a bit short now, so I think I'm going to swap over, put some more of that grey back on. So tie those two together. Just going to trim the ends a little bit. Okay, so under, over, under, over. Under, over, under. There, now the grey's there again, so what I'm going to do now is swap the colour again like I did before. Sorry, swap the weave with a different colour. So where I had with the pink and purple was over, I'm now going to go under. So I'm going to swap that over. So it means I've gone under twice. And then I'm going to go back to over, under. So it'll be over here, under there, over, under. Just pull it neatly. Okay, and then I can keep going again. And as you can see, it's beginning to now get quite fiddly. So I think I'm just going to do a couple more and then finish off. So under that one, over that one. Under this one, and then all I'm going to do to finish off is just loop that around one of the warp threads like that, and then just tie a little knot. Okay. And then you can just cut that off, and then either with a pair of scissors or with something like a bamboo stick, any of these bits that are sticking out, all you need to do is just poke those through to the other side so that you can't see them. Just neaten those up a little bit. There you go. And then you can do some decorating. So you can use beads, buttons, stickers, whatever you like to finish it off. So I found these nice heart stickers, so I'm going to put those on. One. Turn it there, one there. Another one there. Another one on there. And then I've got some of these feathers. So I'm going to choose some maybe purple. Let's just put a little bit of blue on the card. And then just put those underneath and stick them on like that. And there's the circle weaving. And then you could, if you wanted to, hang that up and put in your window. Now the one that I showed you before, this one, to create that effect where you've got the changing from under over much more frequently, so you can't then see the warp from underneath. What you do for that one is you make sure you keep your card the same way up each time. So I actually put a little spot there so I knew where the top or the bottom was. And then I would go under, over, all the way round till I got to the top. And then the next one I would change to over, under, till I got to the top again, and then I would go under, over. And I kept changing it each time, and that seemed to work to get that effect. But I actually think that one looks quite good as well. So it's up to you, whichever you find easiest. Well, that's the end of the session. We hope you've enjoyed Weave Away and will enjoy making some lovely artwork using some of those ideas that we've shown you. The next session is called Monster Mash, and for that you're going to need to collect a box or some boxes. So they can be small, medium, or even large, like a cereal box. So those are the kind of sizes and shapes that you want. We've taken inspiration next week from totem poles, and we're going to show you how to create monster faces or fantasy faces or animals on the boxes and use them for lots of different ideas. So we hope you'll join us next time. Take care.